Alright guys, welcome back. Today we are gonna do a zero fade, about a mid fade. We're gonna fade it up to the top, and then we're gonna do some scissor work on top. He likes to comb his hair to the side, so right now I'm just combing it all to the side that he likes it to sit on, checking out how it sits. And I'm just wetting down the hair, prepping it for the cut itself. So wet down the hair. You can also use clips to keep the hair out of place so you don't cut off any long hairs that you don't need to cut. Right above the parietal ridge is usually where I would clip it, but his hair is quite easy to hold, so I just use water. And we're just gonna use our magic clips here. Zero gap blade, and I'm just going to create my initial baseline. So that line of demarcation right there, that's going to be our first line from where we start the fade. And you can see I dropped it on the back to make sure his crown is still intact. You don't have to drop it, but depends on the head shape. His head shape, it looks a lot better. It goes with his head shape. Suits everything. You can see the silhouette. It just looks better from the side profile when he has a drop fade. So we're gonna make that initial guideline, take all the hair off on the bottom, take it all down nice and easy, and prep ourselves for the fade itself. And you can see when I cut his hair off, when I shave it off like that, I kind of flick away from his head afterwards, just like I did right there, and that's to make sure he just doesn't have as much hair all over his cape. It keeps it nice and clean. I'm using the Famous cape, the Goyard cape. This is one of my favorite capes. I actually got this from Scott when I was in one of his classes in Calgary, and he actually used this cape on one of the models in the class, and he was sold out of capes, so I literally bought the one he was using. I had to get it off him. Alright, so right here I'm using a open, all the way open, so 0.5, and we're going about an inch above the initial guideline that I created. And I'm just following it all the way back, right below his crown, right above the occipital bone. And you can see I closed it up, closed the blade, and I'm getting rid of that line. And you can see it's a lot easier, and I just opened up the guard a little more just to get rid of that second line of demarcation. You can see with blonde hair, with lighter hair like this, it's a lot easier to fade. So you can see it doesn't take me as many steps, and we're not doing a bald fade, we're doing a zero fade, so not as difficult to get that out. So get that nice and faded. You can see the girls in the back are nice and busy. We have a barber shop and a salon, so it gets quite busy. So this is a 1.5 guard. I open that up all the way, and we're going another inch up. And you can see how I'm flicking out. I'm going straight up. I'm not digging into the head. And it's already creating a nice transition. So I closed it a little bit, getting into the second section. Usually I do the whole side, the whole head. I don't do one side first and one side afterwards. But just for the sake of showing you guys this tutorial, I'm doing one side of the head at a time. So right here I closed it up even more. This is closed almost all the way. And I opened it up again. This is some lever play. So the higher up your lines, the more open you're going to be. The lower the lines, the more closed you're going to be. As time goes on, you'll get more used to it. It'll become natural to you, like second nature. You're going to be able to fade that real nice. So now I'm going to put my one guard in and open all the way. And we're going to start at the bottom. I'm going to flick that initial line out. we're staying under the 1.5 guard. You don't want to go over that. You're going to create another line. It's going to mess up the fade. I closed it up halfway there. And this is in real time. This isn't sped up. I want to show you guys a little more detail here. And you can see it's already coming up really nice. So this is still halfway open. I think I opened it all the way here just to get rid of a little more. There you go. I closed it up halfway again. And I'm making sure I flick out, staying underneath that initial 1.5 line. And you can see it's starting to fade out very, very nicely. His hair is very nice to work with, very easy to fade. I'll show you guys a lot of different hair textures on my videos. And soon I'll show you guys number 1 fade. I'll show you guys a number 2. It's not really a fade, but it's going to give you guys more in-depth look of what people actually want in the barbershop. Sometimes guys come in, they want a number 1, they want a number 2. And I know my apprentices, sometimes they ask me how to do that. So you see I'm pointing right here at that line. That's where we're going to hit our 0 guard. And I just put the 0 guard on, open it up all the way, and we're going to hit right where I was just pointing to the line of demarcation. And you see I'm not going too high. I'm not going above what I did with the 1. And I'm going up and straight out of the shape of the head. And brush it off a little bit. Make sure your workspace is nice and clean. And this is about halfway closed. My lever's halfway closed. And now I opened it up all the way, doing a little bit of lever play. And I'm just touching that bottom area, that original line of demarcation that we made with the half guard, or with the 0.5, sorry, with the lever all the way open. And here I'm just doing some touch-up work. And here I close it halfway. And you notice how my strokes are a little shorter. They're not long when I close up that guard. So the more closed your guard, your lever is, the shorter your strokes are going to be. Not going to be long strokes. So I put my 1 on, put my 1 guard back on, opened it up, and I'm just doing some touch-up work on that top area. Because his hair is easy to fade, but I still want to make his fade really pop. I want to make it really nice. In order to do that, I like going back and forth. I don't like to just do one run through with the guards. I like to do a couple times. It might take you longer, but it's going to keep your clients happy. So here we're going to use our comb. We're going to do some clipper over comb work. And you notice how I'm bringing it in and then I'm going out into like a 30-degree angle. Somewhere about 30-40-degree angle there. And I keep combing the top of his head. I keep combing the hair above his parietal ridge, the longer hair, because I don't want to cut that hair off. You do not want to grab that hair with the comb and cut it. Again, like I said earlier, you can use clips, keep that hair out of the way. His hair is not too hard to work with. And you see how I'm cutting up and down on the comb there? I like cutting this way because the hair, which way does it grow? It grows down. So if you're cutting downwards like I am right here, it's going to blend a little easier. I do still cut to the side, from side to side with the clipper over comb, but once in a while, a lot of the time, honestly, I use my comb and my clipper over comb this way. And you can see 20, 30, 40-degree angle, depending on where you are at the head. And you can see it's starting to come out really nice. The shape's coming out really nice. We're keeping everything intact. We're keeping the crown intact. We're not cutting off the crown. Don't be a crown killer. Don't mess up the crown. I'm going to turn it a little bit so you can see that shape. You see that shape in the back there? Keep it nice and straight. Contour of his head. Keep that structure there. So now we're going to start up on the other side of the fade here. And you can see the difference between where I started and where we have to start now. So now I'm just going to do a bit of touch-up work on that back area. I want to clean it up before I go in with my 0.5. And this kind of just helps me give a nice base. This is basically the same as just doing a number 2 before you start your fade. I know a lot of guys do a number 2 and number 3, and like Chris Bosio does a number 2 or a number 3 usually to start off his fade. I like to do the clipper over comb, gives me more control. This would probably take a little more time to perfect this, but if you know what you're hitting with the comb, then you know that's about a number 2 or number 3. It just comes naturally. So now we're gonna open it up all the way, and we're gonna start our fade on this side of the head. Again, going up about an inch, creating that initial guideline, that initial line of demarcation. Man, I'm kind of sick right now too, so if my voice sounds weird, that explains it, you guys. I'm still doing YouTube. I'm still here for you guys. I'm still working hard. I'm still going to work. I try not to work when I'm sick, but fuck, man, you gotta do what you gotta do. So right now, I opened it up a little bit. Opening it up a little more. And we're knocking out all those lines right there, just like we did on the other side. So close all the way, knock out the initial guideline, open it up a bit more, knock out the second section, and then open it up just a bit more and knock out the third section. And this side, I'm going to do it a little different. Instead of going in with the 1, I'm going to go in with my half guard, with my 0 guard. I just want to show you guys a different way of fading on one side of the head compared to the other, but it still turns out the exact same. So instead, before I used my 0.5 and then my 1. Now I'm using my 0.5 and now my 0 guard. So I opened it all the way. Now I'm closing it a little bit, taking out the second section. Get rid of that second section there. Right now, closed halfway. I opened it a little bit more right there, opened it all the way. And now we're going to use my 1.5. And we're going to flick up as we get to the parietal ridge. I'll flick off of the head. I don't want to dig into this crown over there. I don't want to dig into the above his temple too high. You don't want to dig into the parietal ridge. You want to flick out of it. And you can see it's already starting to make a nice blend. So you can see that line right there. This is where I'm going to hit my 1.5. Open my 1 guard all the way, which makes it a 1.5. And we're going to clean up that section right there. That line all the way across the head. And you can see it's starting to soften up already. Get that nice and clean. And you can see I'm using 2 different techniques from the left side of the head to the right side, but it turns out to be the exact same fade. Most techniques you learn from people, different techniques, but they all turn out pretty much the same. There's little differences here and there. A lot of it has to do with how big your partings are, how wide your partings are apart. And here we're gonna do clipper over comb work, just like I did on the other side of the head. And you can see this time I'm doing it sideways, because the way his hair grows, you can see it's growing on the left side of his head, it's going left. On the right side of the head, it's going away from the head as well. And right there, we're gonna hit that line with the clipper over comb. I wanna show you guys how to take lines out with clipper over comb. And now I'm gonna go in from the top to bottom of the comb. We're gonna cut with the direction of the hair, with the direction of the growth, which is downwards. And right here, what I'm doing is I'm just freehand clipper, doing some freehand work just to get the hair above his parietal ridge a little more straight. And right here, I'm doing a little bit of shear over comb or scissor over comb, whatever you like to call it. I'm using my swivel shears, I'm sorry. And I'm just gonna take more of that line out with my shears. See that line right there? A little bit of bulkiness, a little bit of heaviness. We're gonna cut that out. I'm using my YS Park comb. I love these combs. They're pretty expensive. They're about $25, $30 a pop. Each comb's 25 to 30 bucks, but they're worth it, man. Very good combs. I love YS Park. I love the brands. I love the quality of the combs. And you can see nice shear work, shear over comb, cleaning that up. And you can see when I go in with the comb, I make a bit of an angle, about a 20-degree angle. And now I switch to the shorter side of the comb, the more of the short tooth, not the wide tooth. And You can see there's still some lines of demarcation I don't like, and I'm gonna get those out. And be careful with this. You want to practice. Just like with anything, you want to practice. You notice how the bottom of my blade is not moving? The top of the blade is the only part that moves. The bottom is the still blade. The top part of the blade is the moving blade. That's just like a clipper works. One blade moves, one blade doesn't. You don't want to be doing what I like to call alligator cutting. So here, I'm going to hit it up with the thinners. Bash it with the thinners. I know a lot of people don't like the thinners, but man, if they work for you, use the thinners. Use the thinning shears. I'm not going to use it that much, but use it just a little bit. And then we're going to go back to my normal shears. The thinning shears created a bit of a softness, so I can go back in with my shears. And here in the back, I can still see a little bit of a line there. I do not like that at all. If you let him leave like that, he's gonna definitely see that. His girlfriend, wife, sister, brother, mom, whoever's gonna see that, they're gonna tell him that he got a messed up haircut. So you want to take your time on your haircuts. Even if you need to charge $5-10 extra, if you feel like you're taking too much time, charge more money, man. If you have a good clientele and they enjoy your work, they're gonna come back to you no matter what. I raised my price about 2 to 3 times in the last year and a half. And the only thing that happened in my book is it got busier. I'm about 1 to 2 weeks booked in advance, and my haircuts are about $35 right now. Haircut and beards $50. I still consider that really cheap for the work I'm doing. I'm spending an hour on each client almost. And you raise your price accordingly, man. And explain to your clients, like, look, this is why I'm raising my price. I take my time, and offer them something. I'm gonna start doing a shampoo with all my clients next time I raise my price. You gotta offer something. Offer a neck towel, a hot towel on the neck, and then a little neck shave. Something small. It's gonna take you 5 minutes, but it's gonna add some sort of quality to your service. You're not just raising your price for no reason. You gotta add some sort of quality to your service. So right here, you can see that back turned out really nice with the shears. Now I'm gonna use my trimmer a little bit. I do my trimmer over comb a little bit. I love doing this. This is the little trick I love using. I know a lot of guys like it too. It works really well for tight spaces. You don't want to mess up the shaping. So here we're gonna do some shear work. He doesn't want a massive amount cut off, so we're gonna cut off about a ½ inch off the top of his head. And again, when you're cutting on the top with the shears, you want one blade as a moving blade, one blade as a still blade. And you don't usually want to cut past the first knuckle, because that is a really good way of cutting yourself. It also, past that first knuckle, you don't really have a constant amount of grip on the hair. It's not elevated as much as you would want it. Whereas the front, right in front of your first knuckle, that's where you have a lot of strength. You have a lot more, you have no gap in your fingers, right? And you can see right here, see one blade is moving, one blade is not moving. This is how you want to move it with your shears. And you see how I switched my hand movement? That's because you can see my wrist is straight when I'm doing that. So this is gonna let my wrist last a lot longer. I'm not gonna wear out my wrist. I'm not gonna get tendonitis or anything weird like that. I'm not gonna get carpal tunnel as fast. It's just gonna be more ergonomic. Right now in the shop, we got me and 4 other barbers. We got 5 barbers in total, and we got 5 stylists. So we got 10 people in total. And we just started a year and a half ago, so I'm really happy with how the shop's going. Me and my family were trying to build up one of the best shops in Edmonton. Hopefully one of the best shops in Canada. I'm really looking forward to doing that. It's a big goal of mine. I want to start doing educating as well. I'm a great educator. If you ever want me to come out anywhere, hit me up at the email sasthebarber@gmail.com. Anyone in Edmonton interested, I'll come down to your salon. I'll bring one of my boys. We'll do in-class education. Again, sasthebarber@gmail.com. Any inquiries on pricing, anything like that, let me know. And you see I blow dried it real nice. A lot of volume in the front. I'm going to use Barber Station matte wax. It's my favorite wax right now. Barber Station's an amazing product. I'm using my wide tooth comb to style it up nice. And there you guys have it, man. Nice bald fade. Thank you so much. Subscribe to my channel, comment, like, and I'll see you guys next week.